Today we're going to talk about adding like terms when solving two-step equations. And we saw some basic two-step equations before where you add the opposite to both sides and then you multiply by the reciprocal on both sides and that gives you the answer. Well, what we're going to start working with even more today is where you have some like terms that you need to add together before you can get started. So in this first example, we have negative 6 and 8 as like terms on the left hand side, and we have 5 and 3 as like terms on the right hand side. You can tell that we have like terms when we have constants. Constants are always like terms. Where we have the same variables, several x's in there, those are like terms we have that are coefficients. So here we're going to add negative 6 and 8 to get 2. And then on the other side, we get 5 and 3 to get 8. On the other side of the equals 1. So you always want to simplify both sides of your equation before you actually start to solve. And that means you actually once you get to this point, you can go ahead and solve the equation as usual. So now we can move on to adding the opposite to both sides. And then multiplying by the reciprocal on both sides. So x equals 3x. Here's another example. We have 3x and x on the left-hand side equals 1. We don't have any other like terms on the left-hand side, and we only have one up on the right-hand side, so there's nothing else to combine. 3x and x as 3x plus 1x, and 3x plus 1x equals 4x. So when we add those terms together, we end up with 4x. So our equation is now 4x plus 8 equals 24. And we can continue to solve this equation, again, by using our basic steps. Adding the opposite to both sides, and then multiplying by the reciprocal on both sides, which is always our process. Now, I want to clarify very quickly the difference between multiplying and adding when we're dealing with variables. If we have, say, 3x plus x, that's the same as 3x plus 1x, which equals 4x. Now, that's different than when we multiply. When we multiply 3x times x, that's the same thing again as 3x times 1x. This is where we actually end up with an x squared. We multiply the coefficients, and we add our exponents, which are understood to be 1. So notice the difference between adding like terms versus when we multiply same coefficients. So here's our basic process. We talked about this before. I'll come back to it. When you solve any equation, you change subtraction to addition, division, and multiplication as your very first step. Then you simplify both sides by adding like terms together. Then you can start actually solving by adding the opposite first and multiplying by the reciprocal last. So let's look at a couple more examples. Here I have 3 like terms I need to add together. 2x, 4x, and 8x. 2x plus 4x is 6x. 6x plus 8x is 14x. That's going to be 14x. For the left-hand side, so I have 14x equals negative 28. This is just a multiplication equation. There's no addition here, so we're not going to be adding opposites at all. We're just going to be multiplying by the reciprocal, which is going to be 14. So we can cross cancel, which is the same as division. We know that 14 is 22 times, and negative times positive gives us a negative. So x is negative 2. In this next example, we have several constants that we need to add together. So notice the first thing we do is we change subtraction to addition. So the very first step. Next, we're going to add those 3 like terms. 4 plus 6 equals 10. 10 plus negative 12 gives us negative 2. So my equation is that we have 5x plus negative 2 equals 8. So now that I have my equation nice and simple with all my like terms added together, all my subtraction changed to addition, I can add the opposite to both sides. So I end up with 5x plus 0 equals 10 and 5x equals 10. And my last step is always multiplied by the reciprocal. And I end Here's another example where we're going to change all subtraction to addition to begin with. So we'll see that in several places. Then we're going to add like terms. We have negative 6z and negative 2z as coefficients that we need to add together to get negative 8z. And then we have negative 6 plus 4 as constants we need to add together, and that gives us negative 2. Now we have our basic equation that we can solve. So we add 2 to both sides. And we end up with negative 8z equals negative 16. And then we multiply negative 8z by negative 1/8. And it's important that when you multiply your reciprocal is just a number. You don't split variables. That's really important. In other words, don't write negative 1/8z here. That's incorrect. You're not trying to multiply by z. That would actually be z squared. So you only multiply by reciprocal coefficient. And in this case, negative 16 times negative 1/8. Cross cancel, division, negative times negative 7. So you end up with x equals 2. And our first step is to always change division and multiplication and subtraction to addition. So this is going to become negative 1/2 times x plus negative 3 plus 8 plus 3/4 x equals negative 5 plus negative 9. So all I did was change subtraction to addition and division to multiplication. Now I'm going to add all of my like terms. I have negative 3 and 8 that are constants, and negative 5 and negative 9 that are constants to be divided. I also have negative 1/2 x and 3/4 x that need to be defined. In order to add my fractions together, I'm going to need to get counts. Okay, so I'm going to do my arithmetic over to the side. So negative 1/2 plus 3/4. Negative common denominator is going to be negative 2/4 plus 3/4. When I have different signs, I actually end up subtracting. So 3/4 plus negative 2/4 is actually 1/4, and it's positive because that's how the positive is divided by negative. So I end up with 1/4 x. And when I add my negative 3 and my 8 together, I get a 5. On the other side of my equals mark, when I add my negative 5 and my negative 9 together, I get negative 14. So now that I've simplified both sides, this is just a regular two-step equation. So I'm going to add negative 5 to both sides. When I do, I get 1/4 x plus 0 equals negative 19. I'm going to simplify that to get 1/4 x equals negative 19. Now I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 1/4, which is 4. I get 1 times x on the left-hand side equals negative 76. So x equals negative 76.